Miss Crosby. I'm going to show you guys how to make a clay rose. This one's ceramic. First off, you want to start with a little teardrop shape, same way as you would do a ball. You want to press it onto the table where it'll kind of stand up on its own. Tear yourself off a little piece of clay. Now, I tried this earlier and my clay was a little bit too dry. Don't do that to yourself. You're just asking for trouble. Get yourself some really nice and squishy plastic clay, okay? Take the clay, roll it into little balls, and then press them out in the palm of your hand. You'll see minimal cracking if the clay is nice and plastic. Really, really nice and moist. That's what you want. And then you just peel it off the palm of your hand, and it kind of takes on this little petal shape, okay? You want it nice and thin. You're going to take, and if you use moist enough clay, you really don't need that much scoring and slipping because you're using a super duper plastic clay in the first place. And you want to place your petal around the base and kind of wrap it around the center and squish the two together. That's a technical term, y'all. Smear the two together like this and get all that clay smeared together using your spit, okay? And you're going to do this over and over again. That's just the start of it, all right? Rolling around your next piece. You're going to repeat this process for as much as you want to make your rose as full as you'd like it to be. And what I may do is roll several of these and then videotape coming back after I get them all shaped up around here and everything like that. You can make a clay rose like this. You can do a camellia flower. There's a lot of different flowers that have this overlapping petal type of look. And you can do all of them using this technique. I've seen people on Pinterest and YouTube also do circles for their petals and use cookie cutters and biscuit cutters and things like that for them. Any of that stuff will work. I just like to form them in the palm of my hand because I feel like it gives me a more curved petal shape than doing it flat on the table. It's a little more organic feeling, if you will. And as you go around, you're going to overlap them about half on each, the last petal. And if you notice the little veins and things like that from the creases in my hand, that's the organic quality that I really, really like in these flowers. And that's why I like forming them in my hand, because it gives you more of that natural kind of texture. More so than fabric-y, you know, like you would get if you did it on a board or something like that. So each time you tear off a little piece of clay, you're going to roll it in the palms of your hand like this, making little circles to do your sphere. It can be a little oval shaped if you want. It doesn't really matter. A little football shape. And then you press it out and it's going to take on that petal shape. And if you've ever pulled apart a camellia flower or a rose, that's kind of the shape that you're looking for, that petal shape. Okay? If you get it too big, you can always take and just put a little extra on the bottom and build up that bottom layer, because you're going to need a little foot for it to stand on and some place to attach your leaves and things like that. So when you're done adding petals, what you're going to do is just take it and tap it, and you can open it up as much as you want to. Kind of spread those petals out. You're going to tap it on your table like so, so it stands up nicely. These make excellent diffusers for like natural scented oils for around the house. You can glaze them or paint them. Okay, that's the bill, and I have to let my camera girl go or she'll be late to her next class. So I will perhaps show you a picture of the finished product later. God bless, and we'll pick this up some other time. Hey guys, this is Miss Crosby, and I'm going to finish showing you how to make this flower. This is the rose. Okay, and basically all I'm doing is adding more petals to it. Alright, my camera girl had to go to third period, so I am going to continue this without her. Now, I'm just rolling several of these little balls that I'll turn into petals. And I'm using a really super plastic clay. You do not want to use a clay that is dry at all, because that's not going to work for you like you want it to. You want all the balls to be about the same size, though you will get gradually bigger as you go around. But if you get too big, it's not a great big huge deal. All you have to do is either pinch off some of the clay, or you can take, and if you press out the clay and the little slab, the petal is too big, you can take a tool of some sort, any kind of tool. It could be a plastic knife, and just cut off part of it and then use what's left to make the next layer of your petal. And if you don't want your bottom getting too thick, that's a good way to do it. You can cut your petals in half, and that will make your petals not, your flower not so bottom heavy. You can see this one, I got it really nice and thin. You can see how nice that is. You want to be careful when you're doing your flowers not to make your petals too thick. But then again too, you don't want them so thin that they're going to break, you know, if you look at them hard. And sometimes that can be the case. And I'm going to use this other half of a petal. And I'm just going to smooth these two together. Now you may notice I'm not scoring and slipping with this. And the reason I'm not is because I'm using a super, super wet plastic clay. Okay, it's very malleable. I tried doing a video a few minutes ago and my clay was too dry and I had to wad it up and start over. So if you get too much going on here on the bottom, if it's too bottom heavy, when you're done you can always take a fettling knife and cut that extra off. Okay, so don't worry about that. And that's what it's starting to look like on the inside. Now what we're doing is a camellia flower, and you can do this little egg-shaped inside if you like. And I'm just squishing these out in the palm of my hand. Just flattening them out, making petals out of them. Like I said, if they get too big, just cut the petal in half and use each half. Because really all that matters is the edge that's showing. The edge that you're going to smooth in, it doesn't have to be perfect by any means. And I like to do this in the palm of my hand rather than, I just fold it over if I mess it up, rather than on the board, because I like the texture of my skin on the petal. The fingerprints and stuff like that gives it a more natural, organic feel than if you, say, rolled it out with a rolling pin on your fabric. You can do it that way if you want to, if that's your preference. And I like the waviness sometimes that happens with the little petals and stuff. As far as, you know, folds and things like that, it makes it look more like a real flower. And you can see the texture with the sunlight shining on it that you get from the palm of your hand, from the creases and the fingerprints and things like that. And don't worry if the base is getting too thick for you, or if it's wobbly or doesn't sit straight. You can always take it, tap it on the table a few times, and get it to flatten out like you like. And if your petals are getting too close together, you can always take and pull them out a little, and that'll make them fuller and less like a bud and more like a full flower. Okay, and that's how you do your flower shape. Now if you notice, each one of my flower petals that I'm doing, I'm taking and overlapping the last petal that I did. I'm not doing them side by side. I'm actually doing a lot of overlapping. So as you work on your petals, be aware of that you want some overlapping, because if you don't overlap, it's not going to look like a real flower. Okay. And we are doing this flower project for the Camellia City art competition. We're making camellia flowers for that, and there's a cash prize of like $150 for first place, and so on and so forth. But you could do this. This is a great project to do for Mother's Day. This works really well for Valentine's Day, as you can imagine, or for birthdays or what have you. Or you could do it as a fundraiser for your school if you wanted. And I like to kind of like play with the petal shape a little bit, pinch it in here, curl it over there, and make it look a little imperfect, because if it doesn't look a little imperfect as far as like the shape of the petals, if they all look exactly the same, it doesn't look natural. Okay, so that's the kind of shape that I have going on right there. And you can see where I'm overlapping all the petals. Let's see, I'll look at the shape. I think maybe another one over here. And it's really a matter of choice as to how thick you want to go with this, or how big and wide. And if you want to lay your flower on its side, or if you want to have it sitting flat so that it, blossoms out straight on. It just depends on your own personal preference. Some people like to put stems on them, and I may demonstrate how to roll a leaf out onto a slab, like an actual real life leaf. And I may even get some camellia leaves and do that. But you can get the veiny texture of the leaves on your clay, and then apply that to your project, like an actual camellia leaf, or actual camellia petals if you want, if you so desire. And if you're in a place